absolute must-win fight coming up this weekend at lightweight. We have one of the worst nicknames in all of MMA. Omar, we know where you're from. You're the Venezuelan Fighter. We get it, but you don't have to go by that moniker. But it is Omar Morales, and if you didn't know, he's the Venezuelan Fighter. He's taking on the Doctor, which is a creepy nickname.
I kind of like it, though, because his last name is Medic, if you don't say it with the accent, so yeah, it does make sense.
Uros Medic, but you look at this fight, Matt, and these two guys are very, very interesting, because for Uros, he started off his MMA career at middleweight. Then he had most of it at welterweight. Then he comes in on Contender Series and into the UFC at lightweight. He is a very, very big lightweight, and for Morales, he was a big lightweight, and then for some reason he moved down to featherweight with a mixed bag of success. After 3 fights down at 145, he's moving back up to a lightweight, and he's one of those guys that if you just look at the numbers on the page, he's 36 years old, but in terms of combat experience, not a lot from MMA, so not a ton of damage. He is a very defensively sound fighter for the most part, and when you consider for Omar Morales, I mean, he has a great base in the martial arts. His dad founded a karate system called Slam! Da-da-da, da-da-da. Everybody keep on. Slam! It's another one! Extra double dump! Do you think Omar Morales would ever walk out to that?
No, he doesn't have that kind of swagger.
Do you think he'd walk out to it if I sang it?
No.
No? Okay, so a couple double no's. Sometimes 2 negatives make a positive, though. We know that. But you look at it for Omar Morales in the UFC, you figure in that Dunyan Ma win, the win over Gabriel Benitez, a loss to Giga Chikadze that was fun, a win over Shane Young where, hey, Omar, you're a wrestler? What is this? And then, of course, the loss in his last time out to JSP Jonathan Pierce. Jonathan Pierce just piercing through the division of featherweight right now, but obviously not a good look for Omar. But for Uros Medic, makes his UFC debut against Alen Cruz. He has that memorable post-fight interview where he thanks Joe Rogan for his performance, which was really weird.
Thank you for my performance.
And then his last time out, they go, okay, well, Uros, you match up physically with Jalen Turner, here you go. And he didn't match up skill-wise. Didn't even hold a candle next to him. It was bad.
It was a really tough fight, and that's the problem with both these fighters. The last version that we saw of both these guys are not very good, if we're being honest. And Uros Medic is interesting, because offensively, he is phenomenal. He just leaves such big openings between all of his strikes. He's not like he's basically one of those Wing Chun dummies that spins around. Like, everything he does comes at a big, wide looping angle. There's not a lot of straight shots up the middle, and that's fine when you're throwing everything into a big hook. If it lands, you're probably going to win by knockout. And if you look throughout his record, there's a lot of those on there. But the problem is, he leaves his other hand directly down by his hip when he does throw a lot of these strikes, almost anticipating the next strike to throw offensively. And I guess a guy like Omar Morales, it will be really interesting, because you have one guy who focuses almost 100% of his decisions on the feet are based around his own offense, whereas Omar Morales is a guy who works with a very high guard. He is good defensively with checking leg kicks. The weird X factor about this fight, though, is that since Omar Morales does have a very high guard, I wonder if those hooks to the body from Uros Medic will be able to land, because those are one of his better strikes, and I do think that the high guard on Morales will make it a little bit more available for Medic to land as the fight goes on, but I do like the high guard abilities and the leg kicking abilities of Omar Morales in this fight. I just worry about his overall output in this fight, because Omar is someone he'll blitz for about 1.5 minutes for a fight, and then he'll kind of Yoel Romero it, you know? He'll just focus on defense for a little bit, be sound, not really take any big risks, and then he'll kind of go for his moment again. I just worry that if he gets outpaced early in this fight, he's going to have to make up so much distance near the end of the second and the third round, but I really do think this should be a fun fight.
When you look at it for Uros Medic, he debuts at Alaska FC, landed the Midnight Sun 3, the same card as one of the best names in MMA. Oh, you didn't see this, so get ready for it. The diabolical Douglas McFresh. So, shouts to Dougie McFresh, the best name in all of MMA. But again, the level of competition for Uros with Alaska FC, not very good. And he was fighting a good style for Uros, and really capitalizing on giant glaring weaknesses of his opponents. You talk about his takedowns, he's going out there blasting takedowns, just going all over the place for his finishing abilities, whether that be with ground and pound, like whatever Uros wanted to do.
He just relies on his athleticism.
He could do, and again, middleweight, welterweight, lightweight, so he is going to be a bigger guy, and he's going to have that size advantage. You look at the guys that he trains with now that he's moved from Alaska down to King's MMA the last few camps. I see a lot of Marvin Vittori in some of those pictures, and that is really, really nice to see. Again, I could pick a few more. Let's go Benil Dariush, Giga Chikadze. former common opponent of Omar Morales. So that has to be good that way. For Omar, training with a guy that I think is going to be a future champ with Bellator in Jason Jackson, but a lot of really good fighters there at Sanford MMA as I use my radio voice to announce Jason Jackson. But when you do look at it for Omar, you're right. I mean, again, nice high guard. Doesn't really fight like a traditional karate fighter. He fights more like a very, very classically trained kickboxer and maybe to an extent Muay Thai guy, especially with a high guard. But nice kicks out of Morales. When he needs to use his wrestling like we saw it against Shane Young, it's good. When he needed to use his defensive hips and wrestling against Jonathan Pierce, it's like, what? Who's this guy?
And that's what I keep on going back to. Like, the smart pick, and every bone in my body is telling me to pick Omar Morales. But the issue is, his wrestling's good, but his top control isn't great. So I do think Uros Medic, just using some of those explosions, will be able to get back up to his feet. And I do think his overall size advantage, and again, Uros Medic is a really good athlete. Like, go back and look at some of the flying knees he's able to land on people. He's jumping from across the cage, Javi Ayala style. Like, it's impressive stuff for Uros Medic, but again, the safe pick is Omar Morales because you at least know what you're going to get. He's very steady. You know what his strengths are. You know what his weaknesses are. I think there's a world, though, where Medic goes in there, knocks him out in like 11 seconds with a body shot, and people are right back on his hype train, even though it's probably unwarranted because, like you said, he fought a very, very low level of competition coming into the UFC. And I don't look at Medic as a guy like Chaos Williams as to where, hey, your skills are going to transfer. Because I like what you said about Medic. He was just getting away with a lot of sort of rookie mistakes on the regional scene, and then all of a sudden you're fighting, you know, top tier talent in the UFC. With Chaos Williams, it was still quite basic on the regional scene. It was all stuff that you figured, hey, he might be fighting better guys in the UFC, but like, good takedown defense and crippling power is never a bad thing to have. And with Medic, I just worry about how many weaknesses he has. I know I'm sitting on quite the fence right now, but this is a tough fight to predict.
Morales open to minus 150, somewhere around 155, 160. Medic open plus 130, somewhere around a plus 135, plus 140. If we have a look at the Topology votes, they're going to be a surprise to us there to you. I'm going to say Joe Rogan's guy, the fans probably going with, I'm going to say over under 65% Medic.
I'll say under.
So you're going to say under. It's slightly over. 545 total votes. 70% with Uros Medic. 71% by knockout for the 30% that I'm Morales. 71% by decision. So is it Sanford MMA or Kings MMA, Matt Allen?
I would probably prefer to train at King's MMA if you're asking me personally. I just think it'd be nice. I don't know. They've got really good fighters there. I like what you said, though, about the fact that Uros Medic does seem to be featured heavily in Marvin Vittori's training footage. Because I think Marvin Vittori, I know he's huge, so of course the takedowns would be a lot easier for Marvin to get. But I do think him helping you on a daily basis would help you a lot getting ready for a guy like Omar Morales, who, again, keeps a very high guard, does like to push forward. The real difference is Vittori's just sort of like Omar Morales at the Hall of Fame level, if you will. Again, like I said, though, I think Omar Morales could win a 30-27 decision. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. But I think Uros Medic could go out there and get that crazy knockout in the first minute and a half that would not surprise me at all. I guess I'm going to pick the steadier pick, though, and say Omar Morales.
It is weird because Omar has fought Southpaws in the past. You look at it, a win over Gabriel Benitez by decision, and then a decision loss to Gigi Chikadze where he got dropped and totally outclassed. So, again, that's what it is with the Southpaws. He had the fight against Shane Young where he utilized the wrestling, was able to tee off when he got the opportunity, and loses to JSP, that fight back in September on a pay-per-view card, UFC 266. So it is a really tricky one. I like Uros Medic with the size. I like him with his long-range attacks. I don't like the fact that he is a long-rangey southpaw, which leaves that front leg to get chewed up by Morales, and I doubt that Uros Medic has a great orthodox game if he's ever forced to switch stances. So I'll be interested to see that one. But I do like the length and the size of Medic and his own offensive wrestling to go out there and do some fun things. I mean, you go back to his fight against Alonzo Leesholm Jr. and he Granby rolls into a little bit of wildness. So I'm going to go for the wildness and the slight underdog here with Uros Medic. Matt going with Venezuelan Fighter. It's like Blonde Fighter. Find a new nicknames. Do it. But Matt going...
Hire us. We'll get you a better one.
Matt going with Omar Kick-Ass Morales, and I'm going with Uros.
I think the doctor's good.
He's more like the doctor's receptionist, Carol.
How
Carol. Going with Medic. Big time fights on this card. So let us know down below in the comment section who you have. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say,
let's get into it.